There is a special place where adults with developmental disabilities can go to find a safe haven, a place of wonderful opportunities and joy. Project ID has social opportunities, meal programs, fun recreation, career development, church services, and the largest Special Olympic team in the state. Project ID is a real community treasure. Please be a volunteer, sponsor a member, or donate what you can to Project ID, Identity Beyond Disability.
All righty. I think you should be able to hear me, and that was my cue to get started. We're going to do our reading again. Hopefully Bob will jump in if we're not doing this right. Okay, so today we're going to do a fairy tale. I love fairy tales, even as a grown-up, because they tell us about things. So we're going to do today Beauty and the Beast. Whoops, got to get the light to shine right. All right, so Beauty and the Beast. And I'm going to have trouble with the book again because this is a really big book. So just bear with me when I'm showing the pictures. And we're going to read Beauty and the Beast. All right. Once upon a time, that's where every good fairy tale starts. Once upon a time, in a faraway land, a young prince lived in a shining castle. Although he had everything that he wanted, he was spoiled, selfish, and unkind. One freezing night, an old beggar woman came to the castle. She offered the prince a red rose in return for shelter from the cold. Repelled by her raggedy appearance, he sneered at the gift and turned her away into the cold. "Do not be deceived by appearances," she warned him, "for beauty is found within." All right, here we go. There's our prince and the witch. The old woman was really an enchantress who saw that the prince had no love in his heart. As punishment, she transformed him into a hideous horned beast and placed a spell on everyone in the castle. Then she gave him an enchanted mirror as his only window to the outside world. The enchantress left behind the rose she had offered him, which would bloom until his 21st birthday. For the spell to be broken, he must learn to love another and earn that person's love in return before the last petal fell. If not, he would remain a beast forever. Oh, there we go. Not far from the castle was a charming little French village. There lived a beautiful girl named Belle, who loved to read about far-off places, daring sword fights, magic spells, and princes in disguise. She always had her nose in a book, and the villagers laughed at her. Even though they liked her, she was so different from them. One bright fall morning, Belle crossed the town square. She was too busy with her book to notice handsome, conceited Gaston, whom all the other village girls admired. But Gaston had noticed Belle. "Now that's the girl I'm going to marry," he vowed. "She's the only one worthy of me." Just then a loud explosion boomed from Belle's cottage. "Papa!" she cried, running for home. In a smoke-filled cottage, Belle was relieved to find her father Maurice in one piece. "What happened, Papa?" she asked, gazing at the ruins of his latest invention. "I'll never get this hunk to work," cried Maurice in frustration, giving his contraption a kick. "Yes, you will, Papa," said Belle. The invention looked like an old armchair on wheels with a huge engine attached to it. A maze of pipes, whistles, bells, ropes, and pulleys erupted from the back. Inspired by Belle's confidence in him, Maurice seized the tool and went back to work. That afternoon, Maurice set off with the invention, and Belle called after her father, "You'll win the first prize at the fair." Their patient horse, Philippe, carried Maurice and the heavy cart behind them. A cold fog soon swallowed up the travelers. Hours later, they were still on the road. Absent-minded Maurice pulled out his map and exclaimed, "This thing is printed upside down. We'll never get there. Come on, Philippe, let's take a shortcut through the woods." Never a good idea, huh? Someday I'm going to get this, you guys. Philippe whinnied nervously at the gathering darkness. Mist rose around them, and a cloud of bats took flight. Maurice looked back fearfully at the sound of the prowling wolves, and Philippe reared up in alarm and lunged forward. "Whoa, Philippe, whoa!" cried Maurice as the terrified horse almost ran them over a cliff. Then Philippe heard a blood-chilling howl, and his rider flew off. So he fell off Philippe. I've done that. Doesn't feel good. Dazed by his fall, Maurice stared into the mist after his fleeing horse. When the sound of the approaching wolves roused him into action, he fled down the dark hill, dodging gnarled branches and knobby tree roots, until he stumbled on a huge, ornate gate that was rusty from disuse. Desperately, he wrenched the gate open and fell through it, slamming it behind him just as the wolves attacked. Does look pretty scary. Breathless, Maurice crossed the neglected grounds of a forbidding castle and approached the door. When no one answered the knock, he stepped cautiously inside. "Hello," he called into the vast, echoing chamber. "Not a word," whispered the mantel clock to the gold candelabra. "Oh, Cogsword, have a heart," the candelabra replied. Then he called, "You are welcome here." Maurice was amazed to see a talking candelabra. Oh no, look at Cogsworth. Looks very angry. Maurice sank into a chair as Cogsworth looked around nervously for his master. Guests were never allowed in the castle. Then a tea cart arrived with Miss Potts, the teapot, and her son Chip, the cup. Suddenly, a huge, hulking figure stormed into the room and loomed over Maurice. "A stranger," growled he in a savage voice. Then great clawed hands seized the terrified inventor and carried him into the dungeon. Does look pretty scary. At home in the village, Belle was amazed and awaiting her father's return. He was never late. There was a knock on the door. It was the hunter, Gaston, all dressed up. "Come in," said Belle reluctantly. She didn't know that a crowd had gathered outside to watch Gaston propose to her and marry her on the spot. Gaston demanded, "So, you'll marry me?" Not how we usually want to get asked, is it? Look how astonished Belle looks. Belle backed up against the door as he advanced on her. I'm sorry, Gaston," she stammered, but I just don't deserve you. But thanks for asking." Belle's finger found the doorknob, and he pulled the door open, causing Gaston to tumble out. He landed in a mud puddle just as his friend Le Fou struck up the wedding band. Gaston got up from the puddle. She's just playing hard to get, he told the staring crowd, and then he stomped away. It's not probably very good to tick off Gaston, is it? After the crowd was gone, Belle went into the yard to feed the chickens. Hearing a familiar whinny, she turned to welcome her father home, and she saw that Philippe had returned alone. Philippe, she cried, where's Papa? The big horse snorted and whinnied anxiously. What happened? Asked the terrified Belle. Oh, you must take me to him. Belle gathered her skirt and leaped astride the tired horse, who turned bravely and thundered back toward the dark forest. Horse and rider plunged into the gloomy trees, but Philippe slowed down as they approached the crossroads. Which way, Philippe? Asked Belle. Reluctantly, Philippe headed downhill into the mist-shrouded woods where he had left Maurice. Soon as they arrived at the gate of the forbidding castle, Philippe stopped. What is this place? Said Belle in wonder. Up, up, up. Timidly, Belle entered the silent castle. Papa, she called. Are you here? It's Belle. Cogsworth, Lumiere, and Mrs. Potts, astonished, followed her silently through the hall. Don't you see? Lumiere whispered to Cogsworth and Mrs. Potts. She's the one we've been waiting for, and the one who will break the spell. At last, Belle found Maurice in a remote dungeon. Oh, Papa, she exclaimed, your hands are freezing. We've got to get you out of here. Suddenly, Belle sensed danger and whirled around to see a massive shape in the shadows. I'm the master of this castle, the beast growled. Please, she exclaimed, let my father out. He's sick. He shouldn't have trespassed here, replied the beast. Well, then take me instead, Belle demanded. The beast stepped out of the shadows, and she saw him clearly and gasped in horror. You must promise to stay here forever, said the beast. You have my word, Belle replied steadily despite her fear. Hell no, cried Maurice. You don't know what you're doing. But the beast dragged him from the cell and took him to the courtyard. Take him to the village, the beast said to the paraquet, which is a little carriage, which trotted away with Maurice inside. Belle watched from the window, sobbing because she hadn't been able to say goodbye to her father. Always gotta go the wrong way. The beast returned to the tower to find Belle crying. I'll show you to your room, he said gruffly, not knowing what else to do. As Belle followed him, he added, you can go anywhere you like except the West Wing. That is forbidden. The beast opened the door to a comfortable bedroom and said awkwardly, You'll join me for dinner, and closed the door. Belle was left alone with the wardrobe, who was thrilled to have a beautiful girl to dress. Hey, Misty. Well, now, said the wardrobe cheerfully, what shall we dress you in for dinner? And she flung open her doors. That's very kind of you, said Belle, gazing at herself in the wardrobe's mirrored doors, but I'm not going to dinner. Oh, but you must, cried the wardrobe anxiously as Cogswell appeared. Ahem, dinner is served, he announced importantly. Downstairs, the beast drummed angrily on the table as his servants advised him to be patient with their visitor. Master, said Lumiere, have you thought that perhaps this girl could break the spell? You fall in love with her, she falls in love with you, and poof, the spell is broken. We'll be human again by midnight. It's not that easy, Lumiere. These things take time. It's no use, said the beast. But if she doesn't eat with me, then she doesn't eat at all. Back in the village at the tavern, Gaston was brooding about Belle when Maurice burst into the room, muddy and wild-eyed. Help, he cried. He's got Belle locked in the dungeon. We must go. Slow down, Maurice, demanded Gaston. Who's got Belle locked in a dungeon? A beast, cried Maurice. A horrible monster beast. The others burst out laughing, convinced that the old inventor was crazy. As two of Gaston's cronies were about to hustle Maurice out the door, Gaston narrowed his eyes in thought. Pulling LeFou aside, he said, I have a plan. Hey, I got it right. Everybody cheer for Dixie. Later that night, Belle got very hungry. She found her way to the kitchen and heard the stove complaining to Mrs. Potts. I work and slave all day long, and for what? A culinary masterpiece goes to waste. Belle stared curiously at the stove, which fell silent when she saw her. I am a little hungry, Belle confided to Mrs. Potts. You are? Cried Mrs. Potts excitedly. Stoke the fire, she called to Cogsworth and Lumiere. Break out the silver, wake the china. Remember what the master said about feeding her, warned Cogsworth, but Mrs. Potts paid no attention. Right this way, mademoiselle, said Lumiere, leading Belle into the dining room. Be our guest. With that, the bottles popped their corks, and the dishes began to sing and dance with gusto as Lumiere conducted. The feather dusters formed a lively chorus line that swept up the sputtering Cogswell. It was a wonderful cabaret show, staged for the castle's first guest in 10 years. Mrs. Potts bubbled with delight. The serving plates brought in one delicious dish after another. When the banquet was over, Belle stood up and cheered. Bravo! That was wonderful, she exclaimed, clapping. Now I'd like to look around, if that's all right. Straight. Okay. Belle had been warned not to go into the West Wing, remember? But when the others weren't looking, she sped upstairs and entered the beast's lair. The dirty room was strewn with broken furniture, cracked mirrors, ripped clothes, and gnawed-on bones. The only beautiful thing living was the enchanted rose glowing inside a bell jar. When Belle reached out to touch the rose, the beast leaped into the room. Why did you come here? He roared. Get out. I don't think he's particularly happy. Terrified, Belle turned and fled down the stairs. She hurried outside and raced to the stable for Philippe. They escaped from the castle into the freezing night. Good old Philippe. And there she goes. Suddenly, Philippe snorted in alarm, and Belle saw cruel yellow eyes blazing in the dark. The wolves! Philippe broke into a frenzied gallop. Branches tore at them as they raced through the forest, with the wolves following close behind. Philippe reared in terror as a wolf snapped at his heels. Belle was thrown off, and Philippe's reins caught in a branch. How scary. Belle seized a sharp branch to defend Philippe. As the wolves closed in on Belle, a huge paw snatched one wolf away. The beast! He grappled with the snarling wolves, flinging them on either side. The forest echoed with the roar of the combat. The wolves were no match for the beast's fury. One of them bit his arm before he sent it flying with a sweeping of his great paw. The wolf slammed against a tree and lay still. The rest of the pack slunk away. The beast staggered and fell to the ground. Belle knew that she could escape, but when she saw that the beast was badly wounded, she decided to stay. Brave girl. Supporting the beast between them, Belle and Philippe went back to the castle. When Belle tried to put a compress on the beast's arm, he roared, "That hurts!" "Well, if you'd hold still," said Belle, "it wouldn't hurt as much." "If you hadn't run away," sulked the beast, "this wouldn't have happened." But he let her tie the scarf around his arm as a bandage. "By the way," said Belle, "thank you for saving my life." There we go. After the incident, the whole household was delighted to see a friendship actually growing between Belle and their master. First, he showed her all the books in the huge library and said, "These are yours." The next day, Belle and the beast had dinner together. Awkwardly, the beast sat in a very small chair and tried to eat with a spoon. Later, Belle read the story of King Arthur and Queen Guinevere to the beast. The tale was so romantic that Lumiere cried. Even Cogsworth wiped away a tear before he sent everyone back to work. Soon after, the beast shyly led Belle into the bedroom or the ballroom, where they danced in the ballroom for a beautiful love song. Then they went to the terrace. His first dance in 10 years. The beast asked Belle, "Belle, are you happy with me?" "If only I could see my father again just for a moment," Belle answered. "There is a way," said the beast, and he brought out the enchanted mirror. When they looked into it, she was shocked to see Maurice, lost in the forest, shaking with cold as she searched for Belle. "Papa!" cried Belle. "Oh no, he's sick and all alone." "Then you must go to him," said the beast, handing her the mirror, and he said, "Take this with me, so you will have a way to look back and remember me." "Thank you for understanding how much he needs me," said Belle, touching the beast's paw. Then she ran to the courtyard and rode away as the beast watched from his balcony. When the beast went inside, he said sadly to Cogsworth, "I let her go." "You what?" cried Cogsworth. "How could you?" "I had to." "Why?" said Cogsworth, near tears. "Because I love her," sighed the beast. With the mirror's help, Belle found Maurice and brought him home. He was delirious with fever and dangerously sick. When Maurice began to recover, he could scarcely believe that the beast had let Belle go. That horrible beast? He asked her in amazement. But he's different now, Papa, said Belle quietly. He's changed somehow. Just then, there was a knock on the door. Belle opened the door to see a strange man standing in front of the villagers in a van marked Insane Asylum. Monsieur de Arcu, director of the asylum, said, I've come to collect your father. My father's not crazy, said Belle angrily. He was raging about a huge beast, said LeFew. He knew that Gaston planned to have Maurice locked up unless Belle agreed to marry him. Belle ran into the cottage and returned with the mirror. Show me the beast, she demanded. Now she needs the beast's help again. When the villagers saw the beast in the mirror, they screamed. Monsieur de Arcu sped away in his van, and Gaston seized the mirror from Belle. Furious that his plan had failed, he told the villagers, The beast will take off with your children. He'll come after them in the night. I say we kill the beast. The mob cheered. I won't let you do this, cried Belle, but Gaston locked her and Maurice in the basement as the villagers gathered weapons and torches. Guided by the mirror, Gaston led the mob through the forest. On the way, they chopped down a tree to use as a battering ram. Cogsworth, Lumiere, and Mrs. Potts saw them from the window. Sacre bleu! Laughed Lumiere. Invaders! Warn the master, cried Cogsworth, and we'll be ready for them. Who's with me? The others had already scattered to alert the household and prepare for a defense. So how are we going to get household items to defend a castle? Let's find out. The battering ram crashed through the door, and the villagers entered the castle. At first, all was quiet. Then they were confronted by a host of angry objects, pitchers and ladles, pots and pails, dressers, prepared to do battle. Upstairs, the beast sat forlornly in Belle's room. Leave me in peace, he said to Mrs. Potts when she came to warn him. A thunderbolt exploded in the sky as the villagers clashed with the defenders, but nothing could rouse the beast to action. Sometimes that happens when you lose someone you love. As the fight raged below, Gaston stalked the halls in search of the beast. At last the hunter found him in his lair. As the beast faced Gaston, neither knew that Belle and Maurice were galloping towards the castle with Philippe. Chip had stowed away in Belle's saddlebag before she had returned to the castle, and she and Maurice were locked up, and Chip, had used Maurice's invention to break down the door. Hooray for Chip. When Belle arrived, she saw that Gaston had forced the beast onto the balcony. She watched in horror as he clubbed the unresisting beast, driving him toward the edge of the steep roof. No, cried Belle, and she rode Philippe right into the castle and up the stairs. Quite an adventure for Philippe. At the sound of Belle's voice, the beast was roused finally to fight off his attacker. As Belle reached his lair, she grabbed Gaston and gripped him tightly by the throat. Let me go, pleaded Gaston. I'll do anything. The beast struggled with himself, but he had become too human to kill anyone. Growling, he pushed Gaston away and turned to Belle. Good job. When you love somebody, you change. As Belle and the beast embraced, Gaston pulled a knife from his boot and stabbed the beast in the back. With a cry of pain, the beast turned up to his attacker. Terrified, Gaston took a step backwards. As Gaston backed away, his foot caught on a rain gutter. He tripped and plunged from the roof. A great hush fell over the castle as rain splattered on the balcony. The beast looked at Belle, and then he collapsed. Belle ran to the beast's side and embraced him. "You came back," he said weakly with a smile. Even his voice was changing. "At least I got to see you one last time." Struggling against tears, Belle cried, "Don't talk like that. You'll be all right." In the beast's lair, the rose's last petal was about to fall. "Maybe it's better this way," said the beast. "No," cried Belle, overcome by tears. She leaned down to kiss him and said, "I love you." And that's when the magic begins, huh? As Belle wept, the last petal fell. Sadly, the rain began to shimmer and sparkle. Belle looked up and saw the air glittering with magic. The beast's eyes blinked open. His paws had been transformed into human hands. He touched his face and found that it was smooth. The spell was broken. The wilted rose had burst into full bloom. "Belle, it's me," said the prince. A little surprised, huh? As Cogsworth, Luminaire, and Mrs. Potts and Chip looked joyfully on, the magic swirled about them too. Cogsworth turned into a short, round, fussy majordomo with a mustache. Lumiere grew taller and taller until a suave and dashing maitre d' stood in his place. Mrs. Potts was transformed into a plump, smiling cook that she had been before the spell, and Chip turned into a cute little boy. Belle gazed happily at her handsome prince, whom she loved, and that had restored him to human form. Prince is pretty kind of cute, huh, girls? One by one, the members of the prince's household became human again. They hugged each other with tears of joy as the magic carried Belle and the prince into the ballroom. There, they began to dance. Afterwards, they stood on the balcony as the sun broke through the mist that had shrouded the castle for so long. The sun shone on the beautiful Belle and her handsome prince, whose love had finally broken the spell. Oops. And I think they lived happily ever after, because that's how fairy tales end. Okay, that is the fairy tale of Beauty and the Beast. I hope you enjoyed it. I was hoping to have a guest for you today, but that didn't happen. But I do want to greet all these people that are messaging in. We've got Victor and Ed and Misty and some more that I can't see. I do want you to know that I can't do this for every birthday because I don't even know when all your birthdays are. But I did find out that this week was Ella's birthday. So let's all say happy birthday to Ella. Also, I'm trying to think of anything else that's going on. Remember that we are still selling tickets for the She Shed. It is awesome. It is like this whole little room that you put in your backyard or wherever you want it, and it's all decorated and furnished and just wonderful. We are selling those tickets at Ziggy's. You can look online. There's all kinds of ways that you can buy tickets, and you might win this beautiful, beautiful shed. So I'm not asking all of you to do it, but you can remind people in your life that maybe they would like to buy a ticket. Let's see what else is going on. I was at the den yesterday for a meeting, and it looks fabulous. You guys are going to be really excited whenever this virus ends and we get to go back in again, because there's been a lot of wonderful changes. So keep that in mind. It is going to happen someday. We just need to pray hard that this virus is almost over and that pretty soon we'll start being able to open things up. We're working on ways to do more things for you online, like this reading and Zumba and bingo. We'll probably have more kinds of live things and games and contests and all things if coming up if this doesn't end. I have a special prayer request for all of you, and that is we will have our 6th birthday, Project ID's 6th birthday on Halloween Day. That was the first time we entered. We had was actually the Spokane Wolfpack entered our new building over on Central and really began that next week, the program that you guys know as Project ID. So let's pray that we can have a party that day. And if for some reason we can't do it at the den, we'll maybe do it online. So that's something else to look forward to. All right, I think we had a time change this time, and we're going to end right now so that some other appointments can occur. And I just want to remind you how much I miss each one of you. I love your messages. I love hearing from caregivers and parents about how you're all doing and coping during the virus. So keep that up. I love each and every one of you, and I'll see you for reading next week. Bye.
There is a special place where adults with developmental disabilities can go to find a safe haven, a place of wonderful opportunities and joy. Project ID has social opportunities, meal programs, fun recreation, career development, church services, and the largest Special Olympic team in the state. Project ID is a real community treasure. Please be a volunteer, sponsor a member, or donate what you can to Project ID, Identity Beyond Disability.